Imagine it's summer 2022 and you're exploring Yellowstone National Park with your family. You're enjoying the geysers, the wildlife, and all the stunning sights this incredible place has to offer. But as you make your way through the park, you notice something strange. The air is thick with sulfur and steam, the ground is hotter than it should be, and the geysers seem to be erupting more frequently. And then you feel it, a rumble deep in the earth that doesn't seem to go away. You might not think much of it at first, just another earthquake in earthquake country after all. But as the rumblings continue day after day, you start to get worried. What if Yellowstone is having a supervolcanic eruption? We've seen what happens when Yellowstone erupts once before. Just ask the Native Americans who tell tales of fire raining down from the sky. Imagine if it happened again. Yellowstone National Park is home to the largest active volcanic system in the world. So it's not surprising that scientists monitor it closely for any signs of unrest. But recently they've noticed some anomalies in its geothermal features, specifically an uptick in the number of earthquakes and changes in the temperatures of its hot springs. Some of these changes have been subtle, others dramatic, and together they suggest that the mighty magma chamber beneath Yellowstone is heating up. But why? And could there really be a super eruption on the horizon? To understand what's happening at Yellowstone, we need to take a closer look at how volcanoes work. Volcanoes are like pressure cookers. They have a pot, which is the magma chamber, and a lid, which is the magma plug. As the magma heats up, the pressure inside the pot increases until it's greater than the strength of the lid. At that point, the lid blows off and an eruption occurs. It's a relief valve that releases excess pressure and lets the magma escape. The reason why Yellowstone hasn't erupted in over 700 years is because the magma chamber beneath it is sealed by a thick layer of solid rock called a magma plug. This magma plug acts as a barrier between the magma chamber and the surface, preventing the magma from escaping and causing an eruption. However, sometimes the magma chamber can heat up without triggering an eruption. This happens when the magma chamber is full and can't hold any more magma. In this case, the pressure inside the magma chamber remains high, but the magma can't escape because the plug is sealed tight. Instead, the magma chamber starts to bulge upward, pushing against the overlying rock. In some cases, this pressure is enough to fracture the rock and create new vents for the magma to escape. These vents may not be large enough to cause a major eruption, but they can lead to smaller eruptions or increased volcanic activity. One example of this is Mount St. Helens, which experienced a series of small eruptions following a similar sequence of events. At Yellowstone, scientists have observed an increase in the number and frequency of earthquakes, which suggests that the magma chamber is heating up and putting pressure on the surrounding rock. Additionally, some hot springs have changed color, indicating a change in temperature. All of these signs indicate that the magma chamber may be heating up and becoming more active. But why is this happening? There are several possible explanations. One is that the magma chamber is recharging. Magma chambers are like batteries that need to be recharged from time to time. As magma flows into the chamber, it adds to the pressure and heat, which can lead to increased volcanic activity. Another possibility is that the magma chamber is responding to changes in the Earth's climate. Some studies have suggested that the increased temperatures may be causing the magma chamber to heat up and become more active. Finally, it's also possible that the magma chamber is simply behaving erratically. Volcanic systems are complex and their behavior can be difficult to predict. Sometimes, the magma chamber can heat up for no apparent reason, and the only way to know for sure is to keep monitoring the situation closely. Thankfully, we have plenty of ways to do that. For example, we can use satellite data to track changes in the shape of the Earth's surface, which can indicate the movement of magma beneath the surface. Seismometers can be used to detect earthquakes, which can provide clues about the location and movement of magma. And by measuring the temperature and gas emissions from hot springs and geysers, we can get a sense of how hot the magma chamber is and whether it's becoming more active. For now, the jury is still out on exactly why Yellowstone's magma chamber is heating up. But one thing is clear, The increased activity is something that needs to be monitored closely. After all, the last thing anyone wants is for Yellowstone to blow its top and cause widespread destruction. If Yellowstone did erupt tomorrow, the immediate area would obviously be devastated. Ash and debris would blanket the surrounding states, and the entire US would face a winter of discontent. Crop failures and economic chaos would likely ensue. So it's understandable that people are concerned. However, recent research suggests that a large eruption at Yellowstone is not imminent. In fact, most experts agree that the risk of a major eruption is very low, although the increased seismic activity does suggest that magma is moving beneath the surface. It's possible that this movement could lead to an eruption in the future, but it's not something that should keep you up at night. So far, the increased activity at Yellowstone has not caused any major problems. Yes, there have been some changes to the geysers and hot springs, but nothing that indicates an imminent eruption. The earthquakes have mostly been small and have not caused any damage. That's not to say that we should become complacent, however. Increased activity at Yellowstone is something that needs to be monitored closely, and the public should be aware of the potential risks. In the event of an eruption, it's important to be prepared and know what to do. The good news is that there are plenty of resources available to help people understand the risks and prepare accordingly. The US Geological Survey, for example, has a website dedicated to Yellowstone's volcanic activity. It provides up-to-date information on seismic activity, gas emissions, and other important data. In addition, the National Park Service has developed a comprehensive plan for dealing with a volcanic eruption at Yellowstone. It includes evacuation plans, emergency procedures, and information on how to stay safe. One of the most important things to do in the event of an eruption is to follow the advice of local officials. They will be able to provide the most up-to-date information and guidance on how to stay safe. It's also a good idea to have a plan in place in case you need to evacuate quickly. Make sure you have a packed bag with essential supplies like food, water, and medication. You should also have a communication plan in place so that you can stay in touch with loved ones if you get separated. It's also important to remember that ash is one of the most dangerous parts of a volcanic eruption. It can cause respiratory problems and damage to crops and property. If an eruption occurs, you should stay indoors and wear a mask to protect yourself from the ash. You should also cover up any sensitive equipment like air conditioners to prevent damage. Finally, it's a good idea to have a plan in place for your pets. Many evacuation orders include pets, but not all shelters do. So you'll need to have a place to take your furry friends if you need to leave your home. Now here's a question for you. Should we try to prevent Yellowstone from erupting, or is it better to let nature take its course? To answer this question, we need to weigh the pros and cons of each option. On the one hand, preventing Yellowstone from erupting could save countless lives and prevent billions of dollars in property damage. A major eruption could devastate the surrounding states and have serious consequences for the entire US economy. On the other hand, however, Yellowstone is a natural wonder of the world, and an eruption could be a natural and necessary part of its cycle. Trying to prevent an eruption could have unintended consequences and potentially put people in danger. Ultimately, the decision of what to do about Yellowstone is a difficult one with no easy answers. It's a balancing act between protecting human lives and property and preserving one of nature's most amazing places. Whatever decision is made, it's important to remember that Yellowstone is a powerful force of nature that should be respected. No matter what precautions we take, there's always the possibility that something could go wrong. The best we can do is learn as much about Yellowstone as possible and be prepared for whatever happens. Speaking of which, if you want to learn more about the science behind volcanoes, you're in luck. There's an amazing online course called Volcanology that will teach you everything you need to know about these fascinating geological formations. You'll learn about the different types of volcanoes, how they form, and what happens during an eruption. You'll even get to explore some of the world's most famous volcanoes like Mount St. Helens and Krakatoa. Plus, you'll learn about the latest research on volcanoes and what scientists are doing to predict and prevent volcanic eruptions. Whether you're a student, educator, or just someone who's interested in learning more about volcanoes, This course is for you. Thanks for watching.